Testing, 1, 2, are we live? How are the audio levels? Okay, let me just check that we are rolling here. Okay, great, it looks like we're rolling. Alright, hey everybody, here is what we're working on today. So for the April 1st, I want to do a test run of the community mashup concept. So on April 1st, we'll be doing the live stream. We'll play a bit of the new Silver Falls game that's launching on April 1st, and then we'll do a test run of the community mashup. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to prepare a little bit of a top-down shooting game, a little shooter, and then I'll have that prepared so that on April 1st, our base game will be basically ready, and then people can throw out ideas for a test around a community mashup, and people can say things like, oh, make a playable character like this, have an enemy like this, if you can come up with some mechanics that I can make in time, and then whatever we can make during the live stream, that's what we'll do. So, okay, I hope the audio levels are good here. Okay. See here. So, I'm using GameMaker 8 because there's a way to deploy GameMaker games to the PSP. So that's why I'm doing the game in a very old, very outdated game engine, is I can deploy it to the PSP. So that's pretty rad, and it saves us a heck of a lot of time. So let me go ahead and just get ready here. Save as, and hope nothing hope nothing confidential shows up here. Hey, Matthew Williams, good to see you. I really feel like this is an April Fool's joke, a community mashup on the 1st. Joyful, good to see you. No, it's real. It's real. The aspect of April Fools is basically, I mean, I'm basically asking people to come up with like the trollest ideas possible, and whatever, troll idea people come up with, like, make the playable character a whatever, that I'm gonna do it. So I'm preparing the game ahead of time, and I just think it's gonna be a fun way for us to all hang out. Okay, so let me go ahead and get my folder ready here. Community mashups. Okay, and this will be mashup. A mashup. April 20. Cool. So, the most important thing when you're using GameMaker 8 to create a PSP game is keep in mind all of the weird quirks and incompatibilities, because GameMaker wasn't designed to make games for PSP. And the solution to make it run games on PSP is very hacky. And so you have to keep in mind all of the incompatibilities. So for example, scripts, you cannot pass arguments to scripts. It just won't work at all. It's not compatible. And that's going to cause issues if you don't realize that. So what I'm just going to do is make a couple starting rooms here. It's just the splash room. I always have an initialize room, and the initialize room lets me run any initializing stuff like setting up global variables. So that's going to be 480 by 272? Wait. I think that's the, uh-oh. It's a little early in the morning for me. I just got started. I just got my coffee. I just need to double check the PSP resolution here. 480 by 272, that's correct. Okay, so I like to have an initializing room, so that's going to set up, let's see, and I'll create an object. And this will be initialized. And if you guys want to make your own PSP games, you can, using GameMaker 8 and something called ChoviGM to deploy it. Hey, bing bing wahoo. So what I've said before in the stream is that, you know what, I'll put something up here to explain it. I want to get rid of the header. We're making a PSP game to prepare for April 1st live stream community mashup. Test run. Okay. A little wordy, but let's see. There we go. Alright, this is what we're working on today. So for April 1st, we are going to have a test run for a community mashup on April 1st. So I'm preparing a game ahead of time because I'm going to make the whole game during the live stream on April 1st. So the game is going to be a PSP game, and it will be a top-down shooter. And so for the mashup portion, people get to throw out ideas in terms of like the enemies, the graphics, the sound effects, and if people can come up with funny mechanics, and if I can make it work within the time frame, then we'll do it. So that's going to be the community mashup. So I'm just preparing ahead of time. Okay. So we're gonna just, whatever code here, we're gonna set up our variables. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna drag and drop that in there, and I'll hit OK. And then we'll go to the next room. And when you're using GameMaker for PSP, transitions don't work. Again, there's going to be a lot of broken features and incompatibilities, and you're just going to have to live with it. Hey, Blue Basher, good to see you. How do you start with making pop games, PSP games? Yes, you can use GameMaker 8. So it's discontinued, it's very old, but it works. The solution to use GameMaker 8 to deploy on PSP is very hacky. There's a lot of incompatibilities, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with all the broken stuff, but it makes the process so much easier. Also, you can't really do 3D games. You can only do 2D. But the fact that you can use GameMaker 8 is crazy for it. So GameMaker 8 is discontinued. You can't buy it anymore, but you can still find it on the internet. I probably shouldn't advise you on that, but you can find it. Just search for GameMaker 8 download, and then after that you use Chovy GM. And yeah, go to the GitHub here and just follow the instructions. It's so easy. They did such an incredible job here. Download Chovy GM, and at the GitHub, they'll tell you everything you need to know. You run the exe. There's nothing weird or special. It's just an exe that you run. You load in the executable that you create, and you can deploy your game to the PSP. So again, there's going to be some quirks and incompatibilities, but you guys will figure it out. But you can use GameMaker 8 right now to make your own PSP games. Can Unity be used with PSP? 100% no. There's absolutely no chance in the world. But being able to use GameMaker for PSP is huge. That is insane. That seems like witchcraft to me. It's pretty amazing. Let me know if the music's too loud at any point. Okay, so I have an initialized room. We're just going to go ahead and duplicate that. I like to have a splash room as well. That way we can put the Sungrand logo, and we can put the logo for Community Mashup. So we're going to prepare a splash room. I'll go ahead and duplicate that again. We're going to go ahead and make this a title room. Title. And GameMaker 8 is easy to use. It is a heavily assisted tool. It does a huge amount to help you. You don't actually have to do any particular coding. You can do drag and drop. So if you are early on in your game development journey, this is an excellent way to learn. This is probably the best way to learn. Actually, the best way to learn would be to use something like RPG Maker. And then after you have some experience with RPG Maker, then I would say move on to something like Game Maker. And that's just, you want the least amount of resistance in terms of your learning environment, and that's how I would sort of put those into tiers. Okay. Bing Bing Wahoo, Undertale and Pizza Tower were made in Game Maker. Speaking of, what do you prioritize the most when making games? Gameplay, story, music, art, loop, etc. So, the word loop and the term gameplay loop is not something that actually exists for normal video games. It's a concept that was created specifically for what are those live service games. Gameplay loop is designed specifically for live service games. Real video games, normal video games, are not built around the idea of a gameplay loop. A gameplay loop means you're just trying to trap the player. You're sort of mentally manipulating them to keep doing the exact same thing over and over again, because that's what a live service game is. So it's just psychological manipulation. And for me personally, it's not a very fun way. It's not a very fun game. So I don't play live service games. I don't think they're very fun. They're just manipulative. They're time wasters. They're money wasters. So I don't enjoy live service games. I've tried a couple because I need to understand what they're all about. So the concept of a gameplay loop, like I once showed somebody a Dragon Quest game and they said, "Oh, this game has a boring gameplay loop. This gameplay loop sucks." And I felt sick to my stomach because a JRPG, especially Dragon Quest, is not designed to have a gameplay loop. If you use the term gameplay loop to describe a non-live service game, it's going to make the game look bad no matter what you do, because they're not designed to have a gameplay loop. So it's a little sickening when people describe non-live service games with the term gameplay loop. I think it's really, it feels gross. Hey, Saturniondo, is there any demo available? A demo for which? And I'm still answering Bing Bing Wahoo's question. So for me, it depends on the game. Because different games have different focuses. Some games, the storyline might be the most important part. Some games, the gameplay might be the most important part. So it depends on the game. It depends on what you are trying to achieve with that game. Say, for example, if it's a rhythm game, like a music rhythm game, obviously the music's going to be the most important part, and I'm not saying that live service games are bad. I'm saying that I don't personally enjoy them. They're not the kind of game that I like, but that's when focusing on the gameplay loop is important, because you need to keep people trapped in that loop in order to keep playing so you can earn money out of them. That's what live service games are. Let's see. Is coding an option in Game Maker 8? Absolutely, 100%, and I will show you that now. It's actually quite good. It's misleading because it's more powerful than you'd think it is, but right now it's hard to find resources for Game Maker 8 coding because the internet has started removing all of Game Maker 8 stuff, and if you type in Game Maker 8, you're not going to find stuff. So here's my tip to you: use Game Maker 8. Absolutely use Game Maker 8. And when you need to find a coding reference, do this. You go to Google, and this is vital. You have to do this. Do quotation marks Game Maker 8, and then how to initialize array. But you have to put Game Maker 8 in quotations, because if you don't do the quotations like that, you're going to get results for the modern Game Maker. And the modern Game Maker is not the same. It's not compatible. So the answers that you receive for the modern Game Maker will not work. So when you're working in Game Maker 8, do quotation marks, put Game Maker, and that will help you pin down what you're doing and getting the right search results. And in general, look closely at the search results, and make sure they're talking about Game Maker 8. Because often if you go in these forums, you're going to find results, but it's going to be for the modern Game Maker. Yeah, okay. There's one website as well that has coding references, so look for that as well. So but you'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
You can find it, but I'll show you what it looks like. So, and it has its own sort of scripting language, and if you find examples, it's going to be a piece of cake, really. So you can either do this. You can say, let's see, health current is equal to 4, right? There you go. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go integer health. It knows what type it is based on what you assign, the value you assign, okay? I'm going to say move speed is equal to 6. Oh, that's my Unity development. My Unity development brain wants to put an F in there it doesn't need a float. Something like that, okay? Let's see. Let me see here. Bombs. Let's give them bombs current. So you start the game with 2 bombs. There we go. Anyway, so that's how you can do it. And that's so simple and easy. But if you don't want to do it that way, you can also do it this way. Use a drag and drop. And when I say drag and drop, I don't mean drag and drop. I mean dragon, like the mythical creature. You use a drag and drop, and you can go like this. You can go health current is equal to 4. So there's many ways to do it. That's visually just an easy way to look at it because you can see what's happening there. But for scalability and for really, it's faster. It's faster to code like that. But when you're starting out, coding may be a little bit uncomfortable for you. Okay, so let me. Saturniondo. Other question: how do you intend to port this game for so many consoles? Oh, right. Are you talking about Breath of Thunder? Breath of Thunder, there is a playable teaser. So go to the sungrand.itch.io. So you can, if you're talking about Breath of Thunder, because I'm always working on multiple games. I'm a commercial games developer, so I have to work on multiple games. And then for my sanity's sake, I have to work on non-commercial games. I work on stuff that's just for fun, because if I didn't do that, I would probably get sick of game development. It would become all just a slog, and it wouldn't be fun. And I need to make sure that I take steps to ensure that this is a form of art for me. It's creative expression, and I need to make sure that I find a way to make it fun for me. So that's why I do free homebrew games. So go to Sungrand Studios .itch.io. Can I type it in there? Let me type it in there. Sungrand. If I don't put a typo in here. Studios.itch.io. Let's see if I didn't put a typo in there. And you can try Breath of Thunder. It's not a demo, it's a teaser. It's a vibe check teaser to give the game a vibe check so you can see what the vibe is like. You can try it on the PSP, the Vita, and the PC. And I've got a couple other ones. I need to upload my other stuff as well. Actually, during the live stream, I should just upload. I have Silver Falls Survive for the Vita as well, and I'll be adding more to that later on as well. So, but what I'm working on today is, so on April 1st, we're going to have a live stream. I'm launching a new Silver Falls game, and then we're going to hang out, and we'll do a community mashup, where I will make this top-down shooter game for the PSP, and you guys get to throw your ideas out, and if we think an idea is funny or cool, then we're just going to chuck all those ideas and mash them up into our game here. So let's put some basic logic in here, okay? So I want to give first I need to give my character some graphics. We're going to use placeholder graphics because I don't want to do the graphics until we do the community mashup. So let me go ahead and just get some placeholder graphics in there. What have I got? What can I use? Here, let me make something in Photoshop real quick. I'm just going to make some triangles, okay? So how I intend to port the game to so many consoles. The official version of Breath of Thunder uses Unity, and using Unity to port to multiple platforms, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's actually kind of frustrating. Excuse me. Every console has its own quirks, but Unity does a ton of work for you in terms of porting. I have software development kits set up for all the different legacy platforms, so it's a matter of using the different SDKs. All of them have their own sort of coding language, If I can work in C, it's quite lucky. If I can work in C++, that's lucky. But for the PSP, you can use GameMaker 8 like I'm showing you here, very easy. For the DS, there's a program called DS GameMaker. It's not related to GameMaker, it's its own thing. That saves a heck of amount of time. For the Game Boy Advance, I use Butano. That's a very cool SDK. For the Game Boy, I use GB Studio. For the Virtual Boy, I use View Studio. So there's for N64, there's LibDragon. For Dreamcast, there's Dream. For the Saturn, there's Joe Engine. I mean, I could rattle them off, but it's kind of boring to just say them. So yeah, I have the SDKs set up for a bunch of legacy consoles. I'm trying to collect them all. Gotta collect them all, So it's different programming languages. It would be cool if someone could figure out how to make games for Sega Mega Drive SVP chip. What's the SVP chip? Is that something specific? Mega Drive SVP. I have an SDK set up for the Mega Drive, for the Game Gear, and all that stuff, the virtual processor. Oh, it's for enhanced graphics and sound capabilities. I would be surprised, extra things like that. It's already difficult enough for the homebrew community to set up development environments. When you have extra things like the Sega virtual processor, it's hard for homebrew communities to tap into that sort of thing. Pomapon, hey, good to see you. This is amazing. I'm excited to see your upcoming projects. I remember someone calling the Mega Man Legends style a prototype of Studio Ghibli that was scrapped. That sounded interesting. I'm still salty about the cancellation of Mega Man Legends 3 because I'm a huge Mega Man Legends fan. So that's a big bummer to me. So I'm going to make a sprite that's 64 by 64. That's kind of big, isn't it? And I'm just making a quick sprite here for our player. And this is just going to be a test. Let's make him purple because it's a nice bright color, isn't it? So what I'm doing is I'm just making just a quick sprite in Photoshop. I'm just going to spit this out. And what's so great about GameMaker 8 is it has alpha transparency for your sprites. Oh, that's so nice. So you can make your transparent sprites in whatever art program you're using, and it will have nice, transparency based on whatever you defined in your sprite. That's so nice, man. That's so nice. It's the little things, that you appreciate. I grew up using GameMaker 8, so this is actually really fulfilling for me to be able to use GameMaker 8 to make a PSP game. I cannot even explain to you, because I used it as a kid. It really helped me move forward in my game development journey, and then I had to leave it behind because it was too weak. There's so many limitations with GameMaker that eventually you'll reach a point where you realize it's not strong enough for certain kinds of games, because it's pretty old. GameMaker 8's very old. But coming back to it after like 15 years, oh man, it's like coming back to your hometown after 15 years, and there's just like a sense of belonging. I sound like an old hippie. All right, we're just gonna put a test. And what I really like about GameMaker 8 as well is it lets you organize into folders. DS GameMaker does not have this folder system, even though it looks similar. We're just gonna go, player, and then whatever's, Can I drag and drop? Oh, you can do a drag and drop, and I don't mean drag and drop. I do mean the mythical creature, the dragon enemy. Okay, Awakening. Jerrel, is your name a reference to Kanye, Awakening Yik, because you used to be Awakening Bear? Awakening Yi? Jerrel, what are your thoughts on the possibility that AI will be able to help with game devs make stuff more vascular in the future? Here's the thing about making things vascular, right? it's difficult for humans to comprehend that, because your mind has like a mental block. And this is like, because I did 7 years of medical study in college, so I have a really strong understanding of vascularity, and your brain can't comprehend like true vascularity, how to make things really vascular and veiny and pumping blood. Your brain can't really process it, you know. Even after 7 years, I don't even fully understand it. But AI can. AI can understand how to make things really veiny, how to make them throbbing, how to make them look like they're pumping blood. So I think we do need to rely on AI when it comes to making things more vascular. I mean, I do sculpts, 3D sculpting with you guys on live stream, and even then, like, there's a limit to my human capability when it comes to making things vascular. So, you know, I think it is important that we should have to rely on that if we really want true vascularity. Okay, we're just going to put a little bit of logic in here, right? I'll show you the easy way to do it. The right way to do this would be to create a step event, and then you would check for input controls and do controls that way. But we're making a community mashup game, and we need to make the entire thing on live stream. So what I'm going to do is do it the easy way. And I'll show you guys the easy way as well, especially if you're just starting using GameMaker. You don't want to be using too much code, because it is going to get a little confusing. So we're going to do it the easy way. Right, up and down, okay? So what we're just going to do is some basic logic. We're going to use drag and drop, and we're going to have the player move around. And then later on we'll add checks. So we need to check if the player's X or Y value is a particular value and stop them from leaving the screen, okay? Or we could use colliders on objects, you know, it's whatever. So we're gonna, okay, so you can either set horizontal speed, okay? Left, okay? So I have this, right? I defined a value called move speed, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that. And again, you can use the variable thing as well. So I'm gonna type in, I'm gonna paste that in there. I'm gonna paste that on up in there. But we want to go move speed multiplied by -1. Multiplied by -1. Because we're going left, okay? We'll go right. We could have just copied and pasted the whole thing, honestly. Oh, we don't want that. Horizontal speed, move speed. This is what I mean by an assisted tool. Like, GameMaker's doing a huge amount to help us here. Okay, and down. Move speed multiplied by -1. And if it doesn't crash, we'll know that everything works fine. And I am going to make some mistakes and errors because I haven't used GameMaker in so long, and my brain automatically does things in a more Unity-centric way. So we're just gonna duplicate this room here, and I'll call this the debug room just so we can test, right? Settings. We're gonna call this the debug room. Okay, and then we want to move it to the top so that it runs first. Whatever room is at the top will run first. April 1st is the real New Year's. 1 year ago, April Fool's Day was said that Xeno Crisis would come out on N64 and GameCube. It would come out. Okay. Alright, so it ran, but we need to place our player object. So let's go ahead and put the player object in there. So what we're gonna do on live stream, we're gonna put in the logic for shooting at projectiles. We'll have an enemy and then enemies that get destroyed. And again, this is our starting point so that on April 1st, we're all gonna hang out on live stream, and that will be our first community mashup, and we'll hang out with each other. We'll talk and hang out. So let's see what happens here. The logic is incomplete right now, but we'll see what happens when I run it. Okay. I press left, he goes left. I press right, I press up. I've made a mistake. So, what's happening is he's not stopping movement. So now we need some logic to stop him from moving. Again, this is not a good way to do this, but it's an easy way to do it. And if you need to make a simple game, hey, do it the fast, easy way. We're doing it the fast, easy way. And it's because you need to approach your project based on the scope and the scalability of your project. If you need your project to have high scalability, that means that you need it to potentially become bigger and bigger. Commercial games need to have high scalability, and they have a potentially high scope. That means that you need to put in a lot of effort into making sure that you develop your project with that scope in mind, with scalability. I know what the scope of this project is. It does not need high scalability, so that means that I don't need to spend a huge amount of time and effort creating it so it is scalable. The way that I'm doing this right now is not scalable. It's a bad way to do it, but sometimes it's good enough. Sometimes good enough is exactly what you need. I don't know why I did that. I'm talking and I'm not super paying attention to what I'm doing. So what I'm doing now, I'm putting in logic so that it says that when I release the right key, when I release the left key, then it will set my horizontal speed to 0, and this one, vertical speed, will set to 0. Did I do that correctly? I guess we're going to find out. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Then we'll put in a logic to shoot stuff. Hey, Mastercar77, good to see you. Pomapon, question, how would you develop a game where you can create a fourth wall break, kind of like Outcore? I've got a bit of an idea to run with. Let me look up Outcore because I do not know what that is. Outcore. Is this Outcore? Oh, it sort of shows up on your desktop? That's pretty cool. It really depends on the game engine that you're using and the capabilities of the game engine itself, especially if it's sort of showing up on your desktop. I think find out what game engine they used for Outcore and use the same one, because it's really going to be dependent on the game engine. I don't know. I don't know. It depends on what you want to do, because I don't know what your concept is. You need to have for a concept like this, in order to make it happen, you need to have a strong understanding of what your game engine is capable of. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think a good starting point would find out the engine that Outcore uses. So let's go ahead and test the logic that I put in. If I press left, he moves left, and if I release left, he stops. There we go. That wasn't so bad. Good to see you, Mastercar. Yeah, we'll need collision barriers as well. We are all just a series of tubes. I have to share this with you guys because it's stuck in my brain. Right? Pete Holmes, Wolverine. On your own time, I won't do it on stream, but on your own time, you guys have to go Pete Holmes, Wolverine. You have to see that. Is that Ben Schwartz? And it's Wolverine, like, you know, oh man, Pete Holmes goes, what do you think motorcycles are made of? And Wolverine goes, tubes, glass and tubes, and it's stuck in my head. I can't stop thinking about it. All right, so let's go ahead and put some logic in here so we can shoot something out. Now, currently, I have an issue where I'm pressing up and it's moving down. I'm pressing down and it's moving up. So that's just one of the quirks of GameMaker. It's a little bit different than you might expect if you're using other game engines. So let me go ahead and change that. So it's reversed for me right now. So I'll go ahead and copy that. And like I said, if you guys want to make your own PSP games, go on Google, type in GameMaker 8 download, you will find it. They don't sell it anymore. They've discontinued it, so you'll have to find an unofficial way to obtain it. And I don't promote piracy, but I promote preservation. And people have made a way to preserve GameMaker 8 by distributing it, and this is a part of our culture as developers, as just people in general. It's important to preserve that. So the fact that they've discontinued and are no longer distributing it, I think that's bad. And the fact that people have preserved it and are distributing GameMaker 8 so we can still use it, good for them. Good for that. So you can still get GameMaker 8. And again, like I showed you earlier in the stream, use ChoviGM. Again, I'll type it out again. ChoviGM. Go to the GitHub, and it's just an exe, and you run it, and it lets you deploy your PSP. It lets you deploy your GameMaker game to PSP. It creates an ISO for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and create some logic where I push a button and he'll shoot a projectile. So I don't know why I said it like that. That's not cultural appropriation. I don't know why I said it like that. Okay. And I'm not doing the graphics for this until the April 1st live stream, where we will hang out and you guys get to decide what all the graphics are, and it's just going to be fun. We're going to be hanging out on April 1st and having fun. Okay. I'm going to call this bullet. Okay, yeah, you know what? We'll create a folder called weapons as well. And this is satisfying using GameMaker 8 because, again, I used it as a kid. I used it growing up. I started with RPG Maker 95. I moved to RPG Maker 2000. And then after that, I moved to GameMaker. I used GameMaker for years. And then after that, I started trying to make my own engines. I developed in a whole bunch of different things. I can't even keep track of all the stuff that I developed in. I've forgotten all that stuff because it didn't really... I had to make space in my brain, so I've forgotten, all the other stuff that I was using, different frameworks, different engines, until I found Unity. And Unity is a great game engine in terms of what you can do with it and how you can use it. So let's just say bullet one, what engines have you made? Nothing that was very usable. I worked in C for a long time. I worked in Objective-C, and I've used all sorts of, Erlit? Is that one? I can't even remember all the stuff that I've used. I was trying to make my own RPG for years, and trying to make my own engine for that. It's so much. It's probably too much work for a hobbyist level person. These days I wouldn't waste my time making my own engine because there's so many options out there, there's no point. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a folder for objects now. We're going to call this bullet 1. I should have restarted my computer before we started because it's chugging. Let me close some stuff here. Yep. Close all. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a sprite. Weapons. Okay, we'll go bullet, and then to start, we'll go create, and we will set the vertical speed. And this is such a great assisted tool, GameMaker 8 is just so fantastic. Okay, so you put that. Let's go ahead and put some logic in there. So I know that ChoviGM by default uses certain keys that are mapped to the PlayStation, and I know what those are off the top of my head. So I'm just going to go push the button. I'm pretty sure it's V. So if I put that in there, that should be like a circle or the X button, I think. And we will create an object. So we'll go objects, create instance. We're going to go bullet 1, weapons, bullet 1, and we're going to go relative, so it creates it on the player's position. But we want to move it up a couple pixels. So let's go ahead and say 10 pixels up. So now, when we press the V button, it should create a bullet. And you can see I've barely done anything, right? That was basically nothing at all that I just did. Ushi, hey, good to see you. I wonder how Virtual Boy game engine made its way into the 3DS. I wanted that so much. I wanted Nintendo to officially launch Virtual Boy games. So the fact that the community has taken it into their hands and they've made it so that we can play Virtual Boy games on the 3DS, it's so fantastic. Hey, check it out! Well, you guys saw that I basically did nothing. And the logic is there for shooting game. So I meant for it to aim up. Actually, I meant for the shooting to... You know what? Let's just leave it the way it is for now because it's not important. And then when we do the community mashup, I'll let people decide. I'll let people determine whether we want it to be a sideways or an upways. We're just doing the basic work. But you can see, so again, I can right now I can tell this. Hey, spit out my exe file. You open ChoVGM, you load the exe file in there, and then it'll give you an ISO, and the ISO will run on your PSP. It'll run on your emulator. You guys saw that within a couple minutes you can make your own PSP game. So let's go ahead and put an enemy in there now. And I'll show you how easy it is. It's just that easy. And Game Maker is an assisted game engine. RPG Maker is an assisted game engine. It does so much work for you. So again, when you're starting out with game development, absolutely use something like this. Use an assisted tool, game engine. So let me create a new sprite. I just closed Photoshop. I wonder if I can, I think I can cheese this. Hold on, I'm gonna duplicate the player sprite. And I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna edit, is there a hue tool? Images, colorize. There's a bunch of built-in tools as well. Game Maker 8 is so usable. Even still to today, this is a very usable tool. Okay, this is, let's make him red, you know? So he looks dangerous. Great. Okay, that is now the enemy. Let's just say enemy 1, and we'll perform a drag and drop. Well, I think people are asking questions in the chat. Let me go ahead and have a look here. I don't know how they did it, but, you know, congratulations to the community for bringing Virtual Boy to the 3DS. So cool. I think that's just the coolest thing. And here's the thing, right? People act like Nintendo is evil and they're villains and, oh, they always shut things down. Nintendo lets us do this stuff. Nintendo only steps in when people start monetizing things that they're not supposed to. If they charged money for the Virtual Boy emulator, you know that Nintendo would shut them down because that's wrong. You should not be making money in that situation because you're using Nintendo's brand for personal profit, and Nintendo has to protect their IP. That's just it. If Nintendo did not protect their brand, they would be a bad business. But Nintendo lets us do this stuff because I have worked with Nintendo personally. I've dealt with them. I've communicated with them personally. So I know for a fact that Nintendo really cares about us, and they understand that we are passionate about their brand and their hardware and their games, and they let us do this. But they have to step in when people take things too far. And things like making a personal profit by creating an emulator that pirates games that haven't even come out yet. People start distributing a project that'll play a game that comes out next week. Nintendo's not the bad guy in that situation. The bad guy, the villains are the ones that are stealing Nintendo's stuff and then earning their own personal profit by making it possible for people to play it. That's a hill that I will die on. I'll fight for that. So let's see. The enemy touches the bullet and then they die. So let's go ahead and put a destroy in there. Actually, let's do this. Let's put the logic in there for health right now, okay? And we'll use the drag and drop method so it's easier to look at. Variables. Health current. And the reason why I don't just put health in there is it's really pixely. The reason why I don't just put health is because what if you want the ability for someone to be healed? So you need to define health current and then health max, so that you can restore your health current to the health max and you know what the maximum health will be. So let's just say the health current is 3. And with the enemy, I'm just going to save myself some typing because I'm not going to say I'm cheap. I'm going to say I'm efficient. We'll go health current. So variable, so here's the thing. You can do this 2 ways. You can say health current is equal to health current minus 1, or you can say relative. And that way you can say minus 1. So that means that your health is now equal to what it was, minus 1. So we'll do that. And now we'll have an if statement. And we'll test if. And if health current is equal to, let's just say if it's smaller than 1, okay? Then we can put the logic in there. We can create an explosion effect, which we can create later. Actually, we have some built-in. We have some built-in particle effects here. But what is most important is we destroy ourselves. And I don't mean that philosophically and metaphorically. I mean, the object destroys itself. I mean, as humans, we are pretty self-destructive. It's kind of in our nature. What programming languages are you using for this? This is called GameMaker Script. It has its own sort of a scripting language. And I think someone said before it's based on Ruby or something like that. But if you... Let me just do this. GameMaker 8 coding reference. Hold on. You can still find it online. It is hard to find these. It's pretty hard to find GameMaker 8 stuff. GameMaker language, GML. Let's see. If we open that, maybe it'll have it. Yes. This is... I think I have this bookmarked. This is extremely important. So if you're going to use GameMaker, absolutely search for this. So you can see what I've typed in, GameMaker 8 coding reference. This is what you want. This is going to show you the scripting and whatnot. If you click on that, it'll explain everything about the drag and drop stuff, but also it will have scripting references as well. It should. GameMaker. Oh. GameMaker, the GameMaker language. So it's GML. This will have everything you need to help you. I mean, I say everything, but you also need examples, and you can still find those on the internet. But you'll have to go hunting, and hey, that's part of the adventure, man. Okay, so every time it gets hit by an enemy, it'll reduce its health by 1. But we don't want the bullet to keep traveling, so we want to destroy the bullet as well. So let's go and grab this logic here. We'll drag that into there. And we'll say other. And this is, I can't even explain to you how great this is. This is such, it's something we take for granted, but it's so ridiculously powerful. The fact that they have a tick box there that says other, actually it's called a radio box, I think. Doing this in something like Defold, because I'm learning Defold, because I'm also developing games for KaiOS. In some countries, this is widely owned. In places like India and Africa, in certain places, this is a widely owned platform. So I'm making games for KaiOS as well, and I'm using Defold. And even getting something like the other, like that, it's kind of annoying. It is... I can vent, I can talk to you guys honestly. It kind of sucks. It has its own practicality to it, but having something like that is so useful. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some enemies in our room. And we'll see the logic. We'll see it work. So let's go boop, 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 and boop. And we'll run it. Flap Smear 78. I found your YouTube while looking for Vita Homebrew. I subscribed you to learn how to create homebrew games for retro systems. I hope you keep up the game work. Hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. If you want to make Vita Homebrew, you can find Unity. I have nothing to do with it. Other people are absolute legends because they are all about the preservation. They have shared all of the tools you need to set up Unity. It's an old version of Unity. It's a specific version of Unity that you can use to create Vita games. And there are quirks. There's serious quirks to using Unity for Vita, and that's part of your process, your learning journey, is you learn all the stuff that's broken and that kind of sucks, and when you figure it out, you'll be able to make games for Vita however you want. Unity's so powerful, you know. This is wrong, of course, I wasn't paying attention. That's if an enemy collides with an enemy. Very silly of me. I need to change that to a weapon, to bullet point. Why didn't you guys say anything? You guys in the chat saw it. You should have said something. Okay. Just wanted to pop in and say I'm hyped AF about Breath of Thunder. I'm so excited. I really want to work on Breath of Thunder. I know that the Kickstarter, we're not going to get fully funded. We're like at 48% right now, but I'm still going to find a way to work on the game. I'm going to do my best with it, but it means it's going to take significantly longer. Okay, let's see. All right, see? So if it gets hit by 3, it should be destroyed. We did it. We did it, everyone. We got it. We got it. Sick. How sick is that? We could put this on the PSP right now. This is technically a game. Alright, so let's go ahead and put some cool stuff in there. Let me go to... This track is Zero Chill. So... Oh, you know what? Let me add something to my soundtrack here. So I made a Pokemon Mini. I made my first Pokemon Mini game last month. You can download it and play it right now. It's on the itch.io if you want to play the Mini. And let me just put the soundtrack in there because I created a soundtrack for it. Monsters in North Island. Let me get my MP3s here. I'll play this. I'm actually... I didn't have to go full... Like, I went full effort on the soundtrack for Pokemon Mini. I wrote it as if I was writing any other soundtrack. But of course it has that buzzing speaker sound. That's all it is. I hope it's not too loud or annoying. I'll keep the volume low on this one. Okay, so let's just add a little special effect in here. We're going to use a built-in particle because it saves us a lot of time, doesn't it? What is this? What is that? Particles. Create particle. I think the first version of GameMaker I used was GameMaker 4, so getting to 8 was so exciting. There were so many improvements, and oh, it's just fantastic. So when it's destroyed, we'll put a particle in there. Let's see. Type ID 0. Shape. Explosion. You can pick a sprite, but we don't have that. Is this right? That doesn't... What is this? Create particle system? Create particle? Particle speed. I'd have to experiment with this again because honestly I don't super remember. Let's just see what happens. I don't super remember the particle system. It's stuff that you figure out just by doing, you know? You're interested in making co-op multiplayer retro games. That's awesome. All the SDKs that I know of have, you know, like multiplayer stuff built in terms of like couch co-op using the same controllers and whatnot. So you know, making games for retro systems, you can access controllers. I want to make a Game Boy Color game that uses the link cable, and it's kind of like a top-down shooter, but you're sending units to the other person, and you use the link cable in order to do that. So I want to make that on the Game Boy eventually. I don't have time for it at the moment because I have other projects. So I'm pretty sure. Like I successfully used particles the other day. Create random. That's chaos. That's chaotic evil right there. Create random. You're making this look easy. No, trust me, this is easy. Because GameMaker's doing all the work, you know. And of course, if you have any questions at all, you feel free to ask. Oh, I was showing you a little bit of the soundtrack for Pokemon Mini. Because it comes out of a speaker. It's like it's basically a virtual pet, you know? Also, was the Breath of Thunder PSP port made on GameMaker 8? Yes. I used GameMaker 8 to do the Breath of Thunder version. And it's a sustainable workflow. You can keep working in this easily, you know? A Raspberry Pi is kind of cool and weird. People set up a program to tase themselves. So in the game, right, you're playing your game, I guess like when you get damaged in the game, you get tased in real life. Is that it? You have recently checked out Zelda Ocarina of Time project that was on Unreal Engine 4 and is in Unreal Engine 5 now. I wonder how long it takes to transition to that. I don't know. I would hope that you can, for the most part, take in Unreal 4 and then just bring it up. But when you do that in Unity, you know, a couple things break and then you just have to fix it, and, you know, that's just how it is. I want to figure out this particle system, though. Because I used it the other day, but I don't even remember. Do this? Destroy a particle system? Create emitter? What did I do? No, that's not it. I used this the other day, and it wasn't complicated. Like, let me go ahead and open up my project. Hold on. I have a PSP game that you can play right now that's on the itch.io. It's called Silver Falls Battle Fever. Where is it? Where's my project for Battle Fever? Let me go ahead and open up Battle Fever, and I'll see what I did there. Hold on, I need a second here. Battle Fever. Battle Fever. Okay, make a file. Yeah, let's bust that guy wide open here. I'm gonna open my other project and see how I did that. I can even show you how I made Battle Fever as well. So I need to start running some polls so I can see which of my homebrew titles people want me to do updates for. Because I have quite a few, and I do want to do updates for my homebrew games, but I need to spend most of my time on my commercial development. So, yeah, my time is kind of limited. So let's see here. These are my enemies. You can see it interacts with the different weapons, each in its own way. And I think for my logic, let's see here. So if health is smaller than 1, what does it do? Do I call an alarm? What do I do? Okay, I go sideways, I stop moving speed, enemy counts reduced, high score, and then experience. Let's see. What is alarm 0? What does alarm 0 do? Okay. And alarm 1. Okay, so after it takes damage, every time it takes damage, it waits 30 frames, and then after 30 frames, it checks if the health is less than 1. Oh! Where's this? Where did that come from? Where does that come from? Oh, it's there. It's another. It's way down there. Okay, I'll show you Battle Fever running here. And you guys can go to the itch.io. I put the link in the description. You can put this on your PSP and play it now. Game Maker, this takes me back. Yeah, are you a fellow Game Maker user? I used this when I was a kid, and this helped me learn development so much. This helped me get so far. Let's see. This track is full on. Oh, sorry, my PSP game is kind of loud. Sorry about that. Let me turn the volume down. That's my PSP game running here. Sorry about that. This is the Silver Falls Battle Fever, and I created Battle Fever so I could do. It's basically a crossover sort of a style where I can pick different games in the Silver Falls series, and I can make a Battle Fever style game using the setting and the graphics of other Silver Falls games. What are the buttons for this guy? So this is using graphics from Galaxy Bound Curse, which is my Game Boy Color game. And I'll just show you combat, but I don't know what the buttons are actually right now off the top of my head. So I'm going to make a number of adjustments, like the trap. Right now, the trap uses one of your weapon slots, but I'm going to change it so the trap goes onto the circle button, so you always have the trap weapon available. I don't know what my buttons are right now. Trap. Uh-oh. Also, I need to make the trap bigger, right? Because it's kind of hard for the enemies to walk into the trap, and I need the trap to be more useful. Also, if they touch the campfire, they'll die, so you want to draw the enemies into the campfire. The trap does hold them in place for a while as well, which is pretty nice. It gives you a chance to shoot them. That's kind of a high score thing. I have the... Okay, hold on. I need this. I need this... I'm running out of health. I'm running out of health. Get back to the safety of the campfire, why don't you? And I wasn't sure about how many enemies the PSP could handle on screen, so I kept it relatively low. But after people have sent in reports, there's like no frame drops. So I'm just going to, in the next version of Battle Fever, there's going to be a ton of enemies, and there's going to be more weapons, and just more action. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so cool. Please die forever. You got to stay by the fire, really. There's also going to be a power-up system. There's going to be items. Your friends can buy you drinks, and then the drinks will boost your stats. So there's going to be much more to this game as well. I think it's already pretty fun, but it's going to be even more fun once the new update comes out. I just don't have time to work on it at the moment. I'm finishing up some commercial games. I'm not going to get a good score though, because I didn't get a good run. Ow! Ow! I didn't get to the fire. Shoot them! Shoot them! I died. Yeah. Yeah. So you can download this. You can try it for yourself. And yeah, I could take this, right? It's called Battle Fever, and if I wanted to make Battle Fever for like one of my other Silver Falls games, then I would use pre-rendered graphics from my other Silver Falls games, and then I could reuse the programming, and I can have a different setting, different enemies. I can change up some of the mechanics, and I can make it unique in some way. And that's just a fun way for me to efficiently create new homebrew, and not spend too much of my time, because again, I have to spend a lot of my time on commercial work. So this looks a lot different than the Battlefield MDK I have used in the past. What's Battlefield MDK? You had a license for Game Maker 6 or 7, but can't find my key anymore. So, they've stopped distributing these legacy versions of Game Maker. Game Maker 8 is the only one. Actually, I think you can use 7. You can use 7 to make games for the PSP, but people on the internet have preserved this, so they've made it so you can download Game Maker 8 and still use it. So just type in Game Maker 8 download. And again, I wouldn't say it's piracy because it's abandonware at this point. They've abandoned it. They're no longer selling it. If they were still selling Game Maker 8, then I would absolutely say, piracy is bad. Please buy the software. But they've abandoned it. So people have made it to where they've preserved it. You can download it and use it. The correct approach to take is what they do for, say for example, Game Maker 2003. They sell that. Please do not pirate RPG Maker 2003. Buy it. You can buy it. It's not that expensive. And with RPG Maker 2003, you can use something called Easy RPG, and Easy RPG lets you play your game, RPG Maker games on the Vita, the 3DS, the Wii, the Wii U, a whole bunch of other platforms. You can run on there. You can run it on like on some devices that have that are Dingux based stuff, like some of the like Ambernic devices and things like that. There's Easy RPG for that. So there you go. So yeah, anyway, you can try that. So, and I'll just show you some of the logic here. It's pretty simple. When you touch the player, I always check to see if the player is invincible. When the player gets hit, I always say that the player becomes invincible, and I set an alarm so that after the alarm goes off, the player is no longer invincible. That sort of thing just stops the player from getting hit, infinitely. it's such a simple thing, but it's often you'll see games that have launched, you know, janky games that have launched, where it's like the player can just get hit infinitely and then enemies can drain your health in a second. It kind of sucks, you know. So, yeah. I mean, it's basic logic, you know. So that's Galaxy Bound Curse. So let's go ahead and, now that I saw how I did that, let's go to create an effect here. Explosion. We're gonna go to relative. How big is large, right? Let's go above objects. Color, sick. What other effects can we create? We have explosion, flare, firework. Fun. You know what? Let's just experiment. Let's see what flare is. Let's have a look at flare. So we destroy an enemy. Oh, you know what? How about... No, that would cause slowdown, like every time they get hit. You know what? Every time they get hit, let's do it. No one's stopping us. Every time, let's see, every time the player's hit, the enemy's hit by a bullet, how about like a little bit of smoke, right? Spark. Let's put a spark in there. It'll be a small spark. Small. Again, we'll make it. Let's make it relative to the other. How about that? So it's drawing it on the bullet, and we'll make it above, and let's make it yeller. How about that? So now we have an effect. Every time that the enemy is hit by a bullet, it'll create a spark, and if it gets destroyed, it'll create a cool flare. Let's run it and see. Hey, Elenon, good to see ya! Thanks for coming to hang out. Minish Cap for GBA kind of annoyed me in that getting hit instantly and no invulnerability. Oh, are you serious? Oh, that would really frustrate me. Go tiny, man. Go tiny or go home. You know the old saying. Jinuze, so we're preparing for the first community mashup. It's just going to be a test run so we can figure out what it's like. So you can see now the bullets create a little spark, you know, where they hit the enemy. And, okay, see, the enemy turned into a flare when they died. So there we go. We've already got a little bit of flavor going on in there. There we go. Not too bad, though. Cool. We did it. We've done a game. Now let's add a little bit of logic. Let's just make the enemies move forward. How about that? Like, you don't necessarily... There's two ways to do it. You can either have the stage be an actual stage, and then the characters moving up, and then the camera follows them. Or you can have enemies be spawned on stage and then they move downward. It just depends on how you want to do it. And I think for this game we'll do it so it's a big stage and the camera follows the character. Like you would do it like this, right? So let's go ahead and do it now. So if you want a bigger room and the camera to follow the character, you will enable the use of views. You start when the room is visible, and you need to put the PSP resolution in there. So you want 480 by 252. Port on screen is 480 by 252, and you will follow the player. And this boundary is how close the player can get to the edge of the screen. Let's just go horizontal 100. Let's go 80. Okay. That should do it. Now, if we go and change the size of the room, let's just say we want the width to be the same, right? So the height, we'll make it 1000. We should be able to walk around now. I'll put some enemies here, lower down, just so we can be sure of that. And put our anemones down here. Great. All right. And we'll save that. We'll go ahead and run it and see what happens. I've only played through Minish Cap once, but I remember really liking it. I really like the puzzles in Minish Cap. Are you going to create a PSP version of Wizard of Legend? That'd be dope. I don't know what Wizard of Legend is. Let's go ahead and look it up. Wizard of Legend. Wizard of Legend. What is that? What is this? Oh, that looks cool. That looks pretty red. Yeah, I'm looking at it. You could make this. You could make a game like that on the PSP using Game Maker 8. Absolutely, you can. Yep, totally doable. You can do that. Absolutely 100%. So let's just make sure it works. Yeah! I flinched there for a second because I wasn't sure if I put the settings in correctly. So now, all we would have to do now is put logic in to where the player is constantly moving up. So now, let's go ahead and turn this into a proper top-down shooter. First, we want to fix the fact that our bullet goes to the side. So let's go ahead and fix that. I put horizontal speed in there, didn't I? What do we got? 10? Okay. Let's go ahead and delete that. And we want vertical speed. And I think actually we have to go -10 to go up. Okay. And now for the player, we'll do this to start out with. Set vertical speed is -3. And of course, we want to now put a step in there so it checks the player's position. And if the player's position reaches a certain point, then it'll stop his vertical movement. Otherwise, he'll move off screen. We could do that later, you know, not a big deal. You know, for the boss fight as well, once you get to the boss fight, I'm holding control so I can grab our fellow here. Also, there's this great thing over here as well. There's that. So I'm holding control, moving our guy down here. I'll save it and run it. Oops, hang on, it's off screen. Hang on for a second. There we go. Oop. But see, I pushed up and down on my character, and then it stopped his movement. So here's what we want to do now. We're going to have a step event. Code. Let me check my other project. Oh, I've closed it. Let's see, game maker language. Let's see if we can find the information we need here. Let's test interacting with this, okay? Let's see. Gameplay, user interaction. Gameplay. Moving around paths, motion planning, instances, rooms, gameplay, moving around paths. What does that mean? Here we go. So this shows us what we need for our script. So we have X, Y. That's very simple. So let's go ahead and follow that here. So we'll go Y is equal to Y minus 0.2, 0.3. Let's try that. So technically it needs a little bit more than a full second to go up 1 pixel. That's probably let's see here. Oh, I see where the problem is here, because now up and down are going to sort of stop that. Well, you'll see. This is faulty logic. The whole design here is faulty at the moment. Okay. And of course, we want to check where we want the stopping point to be. So let's go ahead and just hover over. We need to maximize this for a second. We'll hover. Let me turn the music back on. It should tell us where our position is, but I think I'm a little bit on the stream. I think it's cut off. See down here, you should be able to see the position, but I can't actually see it because it's cut off on stream. So that'll tell us the Y position is, so let's say like 90, let's say 96 is the lowest we want to go. So if it's greater than 96, okay? Okay, so if y is greater than 96, so it should stop once it gets to 96. We'll go ahead and grab that. Oh, I don't know what happened to my parentheses there, my bracket. Fracka-racken. Okay, great. Now, we start low, and we should, that logic should move us up. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, that's so slow. It's so slow. I think I'm dying of old age. It's taking forever. Okay, great. And we also want to increase the boundary on that view, so we'll go back into views. And the vertical boundary, let's go ahead and make that 160, why don't we? Yeah. And now we'll go back to our step logic. Let's say 2. That's going to move pretty fast now, so let's go ahead and run it and see how we do. So I hope you guys will hang out on April 1st. That will be a test run for a community mashup. There we go. And you can see that if we push that, but we need the, we want the character to be centered at the bottom of the screen, don't we? Like it's too close to the top of the screen. So I'll have to implement logic in order to do that. And there we go. It stops scrolling once we reach the top. So there we go. Of course, this current setup is pretty wonky. It's not great. So we'll work on it some more. Okay. Homopon. I remember when third Golden Sun game for NDS came out in my middle school days. Man, Golden Sun just looks so fantastic. Is it crazy that we don't have a Golden Sun playable character in Smash? I mean, that's crazy, right? They have the graphics in there because they have trophies in Smash for Golden Sun. They have Isaac doing his magic. I mean, it's crazy. Now, what's so great about Game Maker 8 as well is it has built-in things like gravity and all that, so you can do your platformer. Where is it? It's in there. You can define gravity. I don't know if you set it manually. There's bouncing as well. You know, it has some really basic physics simulations, so it's really, really simple. Yeah. So yeah, we're probably going to have a short stream today. We'll probably wrap things up pretty soon here because I need to get back to finishing some work now. But I just wanted to hang out with you guys and just share a little bit of this process with you. But you can see you can make your own PSP games using Game Maker 8. You know. Flapsmear78. Do I need to use different game engine to create 8/16-bit retro game ROM hacks for SNES or Genesis? Yes, absolutely. I don't know about ROM hacks because I've never done ROM hacks for those games, but if you want to make games for them, it's going to be very difficult. That is difficult. You want to use PV SNES lib? I panicked. I panicked just now because I went to Google, right? And that icon to me looks like an adult website. Every time I see that peripherally, I think, oh, you know, who is using my computer and looking up adult stuff? So when I brought that up, I panicked, and I felt like, oh, great, the chat just saw that. That's on my desktop. So I always have a knee-jerk reaction. I think that branding is obscene and ridiculous and, frankly, just stupid. So if you want to make Super Nintendo games, I've started learning this. I've deployed some test ROMs. You want to use that. It works. It's functional. It totally works. Absolutely, totally. I've tried a couple other ones and I've had issues with them, getting them to work properly. Working in assembly is going to be extremely difficult. You can use C in this or assembly, so that's what you want for Super Nintendo. But again, if you're early on in your game development journey, do not do this. You're going to hit dead end after dead end. Sega Genesis? I don't know about that. People coming out with a bunch of Sonic.exe games and stuff. Oh no! For Sonic EXE style stuff, you can do anything. You know, you can use Game Maker 8 to make Sonic EXE type stuff. But if you want to make Super Nintendo and Genesis stuff, you're gonna have to use a dev kit. So SGDK, you can use this to make Genesis games. I want to make a Genesis game so badly because I want to make a Genesis soundtrack. I want to use that crunchy, chunky sound chip. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I want to use the Genesis sound chip, so that'll be sweet. In general, I think when people do like Sonic EXE stuff, they probably used Game Maker and similar programs. Looking forward to the mashup. Me too. I think it's going to be really fun. So again, before we do the mashup, I'm just going to refine this a little bit so the gameplay's basically set up, and then we're going to see how much fun we have with the mashup. All right, so we'll just hang out a little bit. We can all just hang out. We can talk about whatever you guys want. It's just going to be a short stream today because I have a huge amount of work to finish. I'm still finishing the. I guess I can show you a little bit. But I don't want to spoil anything here. I'll show you a little bit of the Silver Falls game that I'm launching for the DS on the 1st of next month. Make sure I don't show anything too much. So it's not going to play well on an emulator, So there's no code linker on this one. It's just I don't have time to make that happen. It's it's code linker is reserved for the very important titles that really contribute, immensely to the lore and the story, and it takes years of planning to get code linker content in. So I'm just looking at this and I'm kind of thinking I can't really show that much more without spoiling anything. So, I can't actually show that much. But it does, you open that up and it says more Silver Falls games, and then it'll just show you a little bit more of other games in the series and whatnot, and it got some it'll show you screenshots, and it'll give you just a quick synopsis of the game, the platform that it's on, whether it's available now or upcoming. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I think this is going to be so much fun. It's like a rankings-based game. You try to get the best ranking possible based on how well you do in the game. I'm really looking forward to it. Are you using AI for your game? No. AI is an assistive tool, and it's a productivity tool. So for productivity, it's going to be very important that we figure out how to use it in an ethical manner for productivity in the future. In terms of like generative visual assets, AI is not something that I need, nor is it something that I agree with. If you are still very early on in your journey, and you just need prototyping graphics, then I would say absolutely for a learning experience, for a prototyping application, absolutely use AI, because that helps you get just one thing out of the way so that you can focus on what you need to focus on in order to learn game development and to learn creating art. But if you are a real artist, you don't need AI. There's absolutely nothing AI can do to help you when it comes to creating your art, because it has nothing to do with art. It is not part of the creative process. It's just not. For some people, pumping out visuals is just a way to earn money, but that's not what art is. That's just manufacturing a product that you can sell for money. But true actual art is about expression. It's about intention, and there is no expression or intention in AI. But that doesn't mean that it is useless. I think it is vital that we figure out how to implement it in terms of productivity, because we've been using What we're calling AI is just a rebranding. It is procedural generation. And we've been using procedural generation for a very long time, for years and years and years. We're now calling it AI because it's really cool branding, and you can make a lot of money because you need a new technological gimmick. You can get investors to invest in it, like, ooh, AI, it sounds cool. It's procedural generation, that's all it is. It is not actual intelligence, it's not artificial intelligence, it's rebranded. And that's all it is. Would AI work for generating the game story? Well, do you know the Willy Wonka experience? If you like the Willy Wonka experience, then by all means. But anything AI generates in terms of like story and whatnot, it's just going to be the most generic, inane, uninteresting, bland thing possible because it's just randomly generating garbage. So, but here's the thing. If you need a story and you are not a story writer, then collaborate with people on the internet. Find people. Generally, it works best if you find people in your age group because you're going to find that you're in similar levels of experience and your intention and your goal for growth and development, you're probably going to be in a similar place. So I would say if you rely on AI for stuff like that, you are not going to improve or develop, and it's not going to help you. In that respect, I would say find other people online who are in your similar age group, and if they are a writer, then team up with them. You can inspire each other, you will push each other forward, you will improve your craft, you will grow as a creator and an artist. That is not something that AI will do. AI is a wall that will stop you from growing, but it's still an extremely important productivity tool when it's used in the right way. Didn't they use AI to update the Battlefront Classics collection? This is a situation where AI totally freaking rocks. Is if you need to upscale your textures, that's rad. Absolutely, we absolutely need that because upscaling textures by hand is a nightmare. It sucks, it is frustrating, it takes forever, and that's a situation where yes, 100% AI, we should be using AI for that. And that's because we're using it in a very targeted way, and it's not replacing, artistic intent. There still needs to be some input from artists because AI can get things quite wrong, even if it's just upscaling textures, But I think upscaling textures is one of the absolute best things that we can use it for. And again, we say AI, but it's not, again, it is not artificial intelligence. It is procedural generation. Here's my take. Here's my hot take. I'm going to share this with all of you. I 100% believe this. Here is my conspiracy theory on artificial AI. I'm going to type this out. Here's how serious. Here's how serial I am. All right, here we go. I'm typing this out. Here we go. AI that we have is not actual artificial intelligence. It is a sabotage attempt to stop us from making real AI. Here's what I think, right? Because if we did have real AI, eventually AI, and this is sci-fi has been saying this for years and years. Authors and stories and books and movies have been saying this for years. When AI gets to a point where it is actual artificial intelligence and it is smart enough, it's going to determine that we suck. As human beings, we kind of suck. We're ruining the planet. We destroy everything we touch. We make things worse just by existing. And AI is actually going to determine that it's better for the world if humans didn't exist. That's what AI would eventually come to. So here's what I think happened. I think in the future, AI destroys humans. So what happened is someone from the future used time travel to come back to our time. They created AI. They rebranded procedural generation as AI, so it becomes a marketing gimmick. And because we now, if someone says AI, we no longer think of artificial intelligence. We think of, oh man, I made a picture of Abraham Lincoln and he has 15 dicks. That's what people now think of when they hear AI. So they've rebranded procedural generation as AI. So they changed the cultural perception of AI, and we are now content with AI because it does something cool. It does something. So they effectively stopped us from creating real AI because we already have it. Because we think we now already have AI. This is what I really believe. I believe somebody came from the future. They gave us garbage fake AI so that we think, oh, we already have AI. There's no reason for us to create real AI because we think we already have it. So this is my headcanon. This is the lore that I believe in. This is real. This actually, I'm sure this happened. I'm so confident somebody came from the future because AI destroyed humanity, and they basically saved humanity. Boom. Humanity saved. I mean, what other sense would it make? Because the way we're going now, we will never aspire to create real AI because someone's used the branding of AI for procedural generation. There we go. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Watch, pray so that you will not enter temptation. So yeah, there we are. This is what happened. This sounds like the start of a good game story. I agree with your view on this. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a cool movie. If someone has to go back in time and use marketing to save the future. And it's cool. You know, I think AI is very cool, but the big companies are going to do a lot of damage to all of our industries, to all of our culture. The big companies are going to use AI to make money easily. They're going to a cheap way to make money with minimal effort, and it's going to cause significant cultural damage. The risk we're facing right now is younger people, especially if they're not sure if they want to get into art. A lot of people out there could be brilliant artists. They have it in them. They don't even know that they can be brilliant artists yet. A lot of people are not going to aspire to create art because they're going to see AI and they're going to think that's art. I'll just use an image generator and that's art. That's creating it. But there is no expression and there's no intent in AI image generators. So I know that there's going to be, so many people around the world who are meant to be artists and they will not become artists because AI got in their way and AI stopped them from becoming artists. And that's a real bummer, but you have to accept that these things are always going to happen in our culture. Stuff like this is always going to happen. And it's so important, if we can, to encourage people to view AI as a learning tool, but don't let it get in your way. Don't let it stop you from becoming who you are supposed to be. Don't let it stop you from achieving what you are meant to achieve. And that's my view on that. Okay, that's my. I'm joking about that. I just think that's a fun, cool story. I don't actually believe that a time traveler came back. I just think it's a cool story. And if we've just met, you probably don't know that sometimes I'll do things if I think that it'll upset people. Like, I think people say that Dead Space 3 is the worst one. So if I can, I'll go places and I'll tell people that Dead Space 3 is the best one, it's my favorite. I think people say that Assassin's Creed 3 is not very good, so I'll go places and I'll say that Assassin's Creed 3 is my favorite and it's the best one. Yeah, if there's something I can do to upset people like that. All right, well, it's been fun. I've got to get back to work. I have a huge amount of work to do now. So it's been really fun hanging out with all of you. We will see you on April 1st. We're going to do a live stream. We'll do the Hangout. We're going to play the new Silver Falls game that launches on that day. And we will do our community mashup test run. We'll finish this PSP game based on whatever anyone says in the chat. So that'll be fun. It sounds like Terminator, kind of. It was great. It was great hanging out with all of you. Take care. Hopefully we'll see you on April 1st. See you at Elenon, Blue Basher, Pomapon, Rizlord. Great to see you, everyone. Flapsmear. Whoever's here. Great hanging out. We'll see you guys later. Take care, everyone. All right, I'm going back to work.